What would you do if strangers accused you of stealing groceries you just paid for in front of a crowd recording you? I never thought a trip to the grocery store would almost destroy my daughter's 8th birthday party, cost me $284 I couldn't afford to lose, and nearly get me arrested for theft I didn't commit. But that's exactly what happened on a Thursday afternoon in June when 2 women tried to steal everything I'd just bought. My name is Maeve Rodriguez. I'm 33 years old, and I'm a single mother to 2 kids, Lily who's 8 and her little brother Noah who's 5. That day started like any other exhausting day in my life. I dropped the kids at my mom's house, grabbed my carefully organized shopping list, and headed to 7-Mart with exactly $284 in my checking account earmarked for Lily's birthday party the next day. This wasn't just any birthday party. Lily has severe social anxiety, something we've been working on with a therapist named Dr. Emma Foster for 2 years now. This party, with 20 kids from her 3rd grade class invited, represented a massive breakthrough for her. 2 years ago, she couldn't even raise her hand in class without having a panic attack. Now she was brave enough to want a real birthday celebration with classmates she'd slowly learned to trust. The money I had was my carefully stretched bi-weekly budget. I work as a medical billing specialist at a clinic downtown, and after rent, utilities, childcare, and Lily's therapy co-pays, there isn't much left over. I've been saving $20 here and $30 there for months to make this party special for her. The most important item on my list was the custom birthday cake I'd ordered 2 weeks earlier from the 7-Mart bakery. $67 might seem like a lot for a cake, but you should have seen Lily's face when we designed it together. Purple frosting, her favorite color, with her name in sparkly letters and a whole unicorn scene with rainbows and stars. The bakery manager, a kind woman named Sophia Martin, had spent 20 minutes with us getting every detail perfect. I remember pushing my cart through 7-Mart that afternoon, mentally calculating every item. The decorations were $19, the pizza supplies were $43, the juice boxes and snacks were $52, and then there were all the little things that add up: plates, napkins, balloons, party favors for 20 kids. By the time I reached the checkout, my cart was completely full. The cashier, a young guy named Lucas Bennett, was chatty and friendly. He carefully packed the custom cake in its own bag with handles, making sure nothing would damage it. I paid with my debit card, watched the total flash $284.17, and felt that familiar anxiety that comes with spending a large chunk of money all at once, even when it's for something important. Lucas handed me my receipt, a long strip of paper that I folded and tucked into my purse. The cake went in the front section of my cart where I could watch it, and I headed out to the parking lot where my 11-year-old Honda Civic waited in the June heat. It was about 3:30 in the afternoon, sunny and warm, and the parking lot was moderately busy with the after-work shopping crowd starting to arrive. I parked in the 4th row, under one of the few trees that provided some shade. As I pushed my cart toward my car, I was thinking about whether I'd remembered everything, mentally reviewing my list and feeling pretty good about how organized I'd been. I popped open my trunk and started loading bags. The cake went in first, carefully positioned where nothing could shift onto it during the drive. Then I started with the heavier items, the bottles of juice and soda, the bags of chips. I was about halfway through unloading when I heard a woman's voice behind me. "Excuse me, I think you have my cart." I turned around to see 2 women standing there. The younger one, probably in her early 40s, had shoulder-length blonde hair and was wearing expensive-looking sunglasses and a designer purse. The older woman, maybe late 60s, stood slightly behind her wearing a floral headscarf and leaning on a cane. The younger woman was smiling, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile people use when they're trying to appear reasonable while making an unreasonable demand. "I'm sorry, what?" I said, genuinely confused. "That cart," she pointed at my shopping cart, which was still half full of my groceries. "You took my cart by mistake inside the store. Those are my groceries." I actually laughed, not to be rude, but because the statement was so absurd. "No, these are definitely my groceries. I just checked out like 10 minutes ago." "I understand the confusion," the woman said, her voice getting slightly sharper. "But I just checked out too, and when I went to the restroom, someone must have taken my cart. That's mine." She gestured to another shopping cart next to her, which I now noticed was also full of groceries. At first glance, it did look similar to mine, lots of party supplies, similar items, but I knew for certain that my cart contained my specific purchases. "Look, I'm sorry someone took your cart, but this isn't it," I said firmly. "These are my groceries that I just paid for." The older woman, who I would later learn was named Vivian Palmer, spoke up for the first time. Her voice was thin and shaky, perfect for the frail elderly woman role she was playing. "Estelle, honey, maybe we should just get the manager." Estelle, the younger woman, pulled out her phone. No, not her phone, a receipt. She held it up toward me. "I have my receipt right here. $284.17. I bet that matches your total exactly." My stomach dropped, not because I doubted my own groceries, but because something about this situation suddenly felt very wrong. How did she know my exact total? That's a weird coincidence," I stammered, "but these are still my groceries. I have my receipt too." I reached for my purse, which was sitting in the front section of my cart, right next to the cake. But Estelle moved faster. She stepped forward and put her hand on my cart. "Please don't touch my mother's groceries," she said loudly, her voice carrying across the parking lot. Several people loading their own cars turned to look. "Your mother's groceries? What are you talking about?" I felt my face getting hot. I hate confrontation. I've always hated it, and this was rapidly escalating into exactly the kind of scene I would normally do anything to avoid. "My mother is a cancer patient," Estelle announced, still speaking loudly enough for nearby shoppers to hear. She gestured at Vivian's headscarf. "She just finished a round of chemotherapy yesterday. We came here to get groceries for her recovery, and now you're trying to steal them from a sick woman." "I'm not trying to steal anything." My voice came out higher than I intended. "These are my groceries. I have a custom birthday cake in here for my daughter's party tomorrow. I ordered it 2 weeks ago." "Convenient story," Estelle said coldly. She moved to position herself between me and my cart. "Vivian, call the store manager. And start recording this." Vivian pulled out her phone with surprising speed for someone who'd been leaning heavily on a cane just moments before. She held it up, clearly recording video. "Please don't record me," I said, panic creeping into my voice now. "This is insane. These are my groceries. If you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't mind being recorded," Estelle shot back. She pulled her own phone out and appeared to be texting someone. "I'm getting security out here. We'll let them sort this out." A small crowd was gathering now. Other shoppers who'd been loading their cars had stopped to watch. I felt their eyes on me, felt them making judgments. Did I look like a thief? Was I the villain in their eyes? "Fine, let's get security," I said, trying to sound confident even though my hands were shaking. "They'll see that these are my groceries." But even as I said it, doubt crept in. How exactly would they prove it? The groceries were generic brands, common items anyone could buy. And somehow Estelle had a receipt that matched my total exactly. How was that possible? Estelle made a show of moving her cart next to mine. "Look, they're almost identical," she said to the gathering crowd. She clearly took mine by mistake and doesn't want to admit it. I looked at both carts more carefully now. They were similar, I had to admit. Both had party supplies, both had similar quantities of items. But they weren't the same. My cart had the specific brands I always bought, the store-brand juice boxes instead of Capri Sun, the generic chips instead of Lay's. And most importantly, my cart had that custom unicorn birthday cake with Lily's name on it. "The cake," I said suddenly. "That cake was custom ordered. It has my daughter's name on it. Your card doesn't have that." Estelle didn't even hesitate. "We ordered a custom cake too. It's right there in the cart." I looked. There was a cake box in her cart. My blood ran cold. "That's not possible," I whispered. "Everything possible is happening, sweetheart," Estelle said with that cold smile. "You took my mother's cart, and now you're making up stories to keep it." A Savamart security guard approached, a young guy probably in his early 20s who looked overwhelmed by the situation. His name tag read Oliver Wright. "What's going on here, ladies?" he asked, trying for an authoritative tone but not quite achieving it. Estelle jumped in before I could speak. "This woman took my mother's shopping cart by mistake, and now she's refusing to return it. We have the receipt to prove these are our groceries. My mother is a cancer patient. She just had chemotherapy, and we need these items for her recovery. Oliver looked at me. Ma'am, is this your cart? Yes, I said firmly. I just checked out about 15 minutes ago. These are definitely my groceries. She's lying, Estelle said flatly. We checked out at the same time, went to the restroom, and when we came back, she'd taken our cart. Do you have your receipt, ma'am? Oliver asked me. Yes, it's right here. I reached into my purse and pulled out the long receipt, unfolding it with shaking hands. Estelle held up her receipt next to mine. $284.17. Exact same total. These are clearly our groceries. Oliver looked at both receipts, then at both carts, then back at us with an expression of complete confusion. I think I need to get my manager. Please do, Estelle said. And call the police while you're at it. This is theft. The police? My voice cracked. I didn't steal anything. Then you won't mind waiting for them to arrive, Estelle said smoothly. Vivian, still recording on her phone, spoke up again in that shaky voice. I just want my medicine money back. We used our prescription fund for these groceries. It was a masterful performance, I realized later. They thought of everything. The headscarf, the cane, the story about chemotherapy, the emotional appeal about prescription funds. They were playing the crowd like professionals. And it was working. I could see it in the faces around me. People were giving me suspicious looks now, seeing a younger, healthier woman refusing to give groceries to a sick elderly lady. The optics were terrible. Oliver disappeared back into the store, presumably to get his manager and possibly to call the police. I was left standing there with Estelle and Vivian, their phones recording me, a crowd of shoppers watching, and my daughter's birthday cake sitting in a cart that I was increasingly unsure I could prove was mine. Please, I said to Estelle, trying one more time. These are my groceries. My daughter's birthday party is tomorrow. 20 kids are coming. If I lose this cake, I can't replace it in time. That sounds like a personal problem, Estelle said without a trace of sympathy. You should have thought about that before taking someone else's cart. I didn't take your cart. My voice rose again, frustration overwhelming my usual aversion to confrontation. I don't know what kind of scam you're running, but these are my groceries, I paid for them, and I'm not giving them to you. Scam? Estelle's voice went ice cold. Did you just accuse a cancer patient and her daughter of running a scam? Vivian, are you getting this? I'm recording everything, Vivian confirmed, adjusting her phone for a better angle. A new person emerged from the store, a man in his 30s wearing a manager name tag that read Dylan Torres. He had dark hair, kind eyes, and an expression that suggested he dealt with parking lot disputes more often than he'd like. Hi folks, I'm Dylan, the assistant store manager. Oliver filled me in on the situation. Let's see if we can sort this out calmly. He looked at both receipts that Estelle and I held out. His eyebrows went up slightly at the identical totals. That's unusual, he admitted. Same total to the penny. Because those are our groceries in her cart, Estelle said firmly. These are my groceries, I insisted. I can prove it. That cake box, the one in my cart, it's a custom order I placed 2 weeks ago. It has specific decorations. My daughter's name is Lily Rodriguez, and it's a unicorn theme with purple frosting and rainbows. Dylan looked interested in this. A custom cake order would have been logged in our bakery system. Let me check. He pulled out a phone and tapped at it for a moment. Yes, I see the order here. Lily Rodriguez, unicorn theme, purple frosting, picked up today. The order notes say the customer, Maeve Rodriguez, discussed specific details with Sophia about the design. Relief flooded through me. That's me. I'm Maeve Rodriguez. I picked up that exact cake maybe 20 minutes ago. Dylan walked over to my cart and carefully lifted the cake box lid just enough to peek inside. Purple frosting, Lily's name, unicorn design. This matches the order. Of course it does, Estelle said quickly, too quickly. Because we ordered the same style cake for my niece. Dylan's expression shifted slightly, becoming more guarded. Your niece? Yes, it's her birthday too. What a coincidence. Kids love unicorns. Estelle's smile had gotten tighter. What's your niece's name? Dylan asked casually. There was the briefest hesitation, maybe half a second, but it was there. Emily. Emily Palmer. And what color frosting did you order? Another tiny pause. Purple. Like I said, same style. Dylan nodded slowly. And the cake in your cart there, may I see it? Estelle's hand moved protectively toward her cart. I don't see why that's necessary. Well, if you ordered a custom cake like Ms. Rodriguez here, it should have your niece's name on it, right? Let's just take a quick look, clear this whole thing up. I don't appreciate your tone, Estelle said, her voice hardening. Are you suggesting I'm lying? I'm not suggesting anything, Dylan said calmly. I'm trying to establish facts. If both carts have custom cakes with different names on them, that would be pretty clear evidence of who's telling the truth. He reached for the cake box in Estelle's cart. She moved to block him, then seemed to realize how bad that would look. Fine, look. Dylan opened the box. Inside was a completely plain cake, white frosting, no decorations, no name. It was a standard sheet cake from the display case, the kind you can buy without any advance order for about $19. Huh, Dylan said quietly. This doesn't appear to be a custom order. They must have made a mistake, Estelle said, but her voice had lost some of its confidence. The bakery made a mistake with our order. Our bakery makes mistakes sometimes, sure, Dylan agreed. But they don't make the mistake of giving someone a completely undecorated cake when they ordered a custom design. That's not how our system works. He pulled out his phone again and tapped at it. Let me check something else. What time did you check out, Miss Palmer? I don't know exactly, maybe 10 minutes before her. Estelle gestured at me. And which register? I don't remember. Dylan nodded. That's okay, I can pull up recent transactions matching this total. He steadied his phone screen. There's only one transaction today for $284.17. It was at Register 7, processed by Lucas Bennett, at 3:14 p.m., paid with a debit card ending in 4792. He looked at me. Ms. Rodriguez, do you have a debit card ending in 4792? Yes, I said, hope rising in my chest. That's my card. And which register did you use? 7. Lucas was my cashier, the tall kid with curly hair. Dylan nodded. That matches our records. He turned to Estelle. Miss Palmer, can you tell me which register you used? Estelle's face was getting red. Like I said, I don't remember. What about your payment method? Cash. You paid $284 in cash? Yes. That's a lot of cash to carry. May I see your receipt more closely? Estelle held it out, but I noticed her hand was shaking slightly now. Dylan took the receipt and examined it carefully. Then he pulled out his phone, opened the camera app, and took a photo of it. He zoomed in on the image and studied it. This is interesting, he said after a long moment. This receipt looks almost perfect, but there are a few tiny details that are off. The font on the timestamp is slightly wrong. The spacing between items isn't quite consistent with our receipt printer. And most tellingly, the register number at the top is listed as Register 9. So I used Register 9, so what? Estelle snapped. Register 9 has been broken for 3 days, Dylan said quietly. It's not in use. No transactions have been processed on Register 9 since Monday. The parking lot went very quiet. Everyone watching seemed to sense that the dynamic had shifted dramatically. This is a fake receipt, Dylan continued. I don't know how you made it, maybe an app or photo editing software, but it's not a real Savamart receipt. That's ridiculous, Estelle protested, but her voice had lost all its authority. Is it? Dylan's voice remained calm but firm. Because I'm also noticing that your cart contains items that are priced differently than what's on this receipt. The juice boxes you have are the name brand, which cost $5.49. The receipt shows $4.29, which is the price of our store brand. Same with the chips, the soda, several other items. You grabbed similar products but not the exact same ones. He turned to address the crowd that had gathered. Has anyone seen these two women actually enter the store today? Silence. People looked at each other, shaking their heads. I have security footage, Dylan said. Let me check something. He tapped at his phone for a minute, clearly accessing some kind of security system. His expression darkened as he watched. According to our parking lot cameras, you two have been sitting in that silver Honda Accord for about 45 minutes. He pointed to a car 3 spaces away. You watched Ms. Rodriguez check out through the window. You could see register 7 from your position. Then you watched her come out to her car, and that's when you approached her. Vivian suddenly stopped recording. The cane she'd been leaning on was now held loosely in one hand, forgotten. The frail elderly woman act had evaporated. I think we need to have a longer conversation inside my office, Dylan said. Oliver, can you call the police, please? And don't let these two leave. Now wait just a minute, Estelle started, but Dylan cut her off. I'm also noticing something else. Let me check our transaction records from the past 6 weeks. He was quiet for a moment, scrolling through his phone. There have been 4 complaints in our district about this exact kind of situation. Different locations, but same pattern. 2 women approach shoppers in the parking lot claiming card mix-ups, always with a receipt that somehow matches the total, always with some sob story about cancer or medical bills. He looked up at Estelle and Vivian. The descriptions of those women match you two pretty well. Estelle grabbed Vivian's arm. We're leaving. You can't keep us here. Actually, I can until the police arrive, Dylan said. You've admitted to trying to claim groceries that aren't yours using a fraudulent receipt. That's attempted theft and possibly fraud. This is harassment, Estelle tried. We're the victims here. The only victim I see is Ms. Rodriguez, who you tried to scam out of nearly $300 of groceries for her daughter's birthday party. Dylan's voice had steel in it now. A police car pulled into the parking lot, lights flashing. 2 officers got out, a tall black woman and a shorter Hispanic man. Dylan walked over to meet them, and I could see him explaining the situation, showing them something on his phone, gesturing between the 2 carts. The female officer, whose name tag read Officer Amanda Turner, approached Estelle and Vivian. Ladies, I'm going to need to see some identification. This is ridiculous, Estelle muttered, but she pulled out her driver's license. Vivian did the same. Officer Turner took the IDs back to her patrol car and spent several minutes doing something on her computer. When she emerged, her expression was grim. Estelle Palmer and Vivian Palmer, she said, walking back toward them. You both have outstanding warrants. Ms. Estelle Palmer, you have 2 warrants in Jefferson County for retail fraud totaling $2,200. Ms. Vivian Palmer, you have 1 warrant in Madison County for fraud and conspiracy to commit theft, totaling $1,200. My jaw dropped. So did the jaws of most of the people watching. There must be a mistake, Estelle stammered. No mistake, Officer Turner said. You're both under arrest. Turn around and put your hands behind your back. What happened next felt surreal. Officer Turner handcuffed Estelle while her partner, Officer Marcus Hayes, handcuffed Vivian. The older woman's transformation was complete. She was standing up straight now, no longer leaning on the cane, arguing loudly with the officer about her rights. Ms. Rodriguez, Dylan said, approaching me. I am so sorry you went through this. This is completely unacceptable. I don't understand, I said, still processing everything. How did they know my exact total? They watched through the windows, Dylan explained. The registers at Savimart faced the parking lot. With a good view and maybe binoculars, they can see the total on the screen. Then they use one of those receipt-making apps to create a fake that matches. It's a sophisticated scam. But why target me? They look for people who seem vulnerable. Single parents, elderly people, anyone who might be too intimidated to push back. When you refuse to back down, that's when they pulled out all the stops with the cancer story and the recording. They try to embarrass their targets into giving up. He pulled something from his pocket. Here, I want to give you this. It's a $100 gift card to apologize for what happened. This should never have occurred in our parking lot. You don't have to do that, I protested weakly. Please, I insist. Use it toward your daughter's next birthday, or just to offset your groceries. You've been shopping here for years, Ms. Rodriguez. I've seen you come in. You're a valued customer, and I'm sorry 2 criminals chose our parking lot to target you. I took the gift card with shaking hands, tears starting to form. The adrenaline was wearing off, and the reality of what almost happened was hitting me. Also, Dylan continued, I noticed your car has a dash cam. Would you be willing to share that footage with the police? It might show Estelle and Vivian preparing for this scam. I nodded. Yes, of course. Officer Turner overheard and came over. That would be very helpful, ma'am. If you can send that footage to the station, it could be valuable evidence. I went to my car and accessed the dashcam footage on my phone app. Sure enough, the camera had captured Estelle and Vivian about 10 minutes before they approached me. In the video, you could clearly see them watching the store entrance, Estelle pointing at me as I came out, and, this was the most damning part, you could see Estelle rehearsing what she was going to say, moving her hands in animated conversation while Vivian watched and nodded. This is perfect, Officer Turner said after I emailed her the footage. This shows clear premeditation. Combined with their outstanding warrants and the pattern of complaints across multiple stores, they're looking at serious charges. The officers loaded Estelle and Vivian into the back of their patrol car. As they drove away, some of the bystanders actually started applauding. A woman approached me, probably in her 50s. I'm so glad you stood your ground, she said. I had something similar happen to me at a different store last month. 2 women claimed I took their cart, and I was so embarrassed and confused that I just let them have it. I lost over $100 of groceries. I wish I'd been brave like you. I didn't feel brave, I admitted. I felt terrified. But you didn't back down, she said. That's what matters. Dylan helped me finish loading my groceries into my car, making sure everything was properly secured. The custom cake sat safely in my trunk, Lily's name and purple frosting undamaged by the ordeal. Mr. Torres, Dylan, I said as I was about to leave. Thank you. If you hadn't checked everything so carefully, if you hadn't accessed those security cameras, I don't know what would have happened. It's my job to protect customers, he said. But honestly, Ms. Rodriguez, you did most of the work yourself. You knew your groceries, you knew your order details, and you refused to be bullied. A lot of people would have given in. I drove home in a daze, my hand still shaking on the steering wheel. When I got to my mom's house to pick up the kids, she took one look at my face and knew something had happened. Mija, what's wrong? She asked in Spanish. I told her everything while the kids played in the backyard. Her expression went from concern to furious. Those brujas, she spat. Going after a mother buying for a child's birthday. They should rot in jail. Mom, I said weakly. No, I mean it. This is evil. Using a fake cancer story, targeting you with the cameras and everything. Mija, you were so brave. I didn't feel brave. I felt exhausted and shaky and overwhelmingly grateful that I'd gotten to keep my daughter's birthday cake. The next day, Lily's birthday party was legendary, though not for the reasons I expected. By that morning, the story had hit the local news. A reporter named Emma Coleman from Channel 7 had picked it up and ran a segment warning shoppers about the receipt scam. The footage from my dash cam, showing Estelle rehearsing her confrontation, was featured prominently. The other parents at the party had all seen the news. They kept approaching me, saying they couldn't believe what had happened, thanking me for standing up to the scammers, asking if I was okay. My friend Sophia Wright, whose son Nathan was in Lily's class, gave me a huge hug. You're like a local hero, she said. Taking down those parking lot con artists. I just wanted to keep my groceries, I protested. But the kids loved it. To them, having a mom who was on the news for catching bad guys was the coolest thing ever. Lily kept telling everyone, my mom wouldn't let those mean ladies steal my birthday cake. She said it with such pride that I started tearing up. The party itself was perfect. All 20 kids came, they demolished the pizza and snacks, played the games I'd organized, and when it came time for cake, everyone sang happy birthday with real enthusiasm. When Lily saw her cake, the unicorn design with her name in purple frosting and all the little rainbow details she'd picked out, Her face lit up in a way that made every terrifying moment in that parking lot worth it. She didn't have a single panic attack during the entire party. She laughed, she played, she opened presents in front of everyone without freezing up. Later, her therapist, Dr. Emma, told me this was a huge milestone. Sometimes, Dr. Emma said, kids with anxiety need to see their parents advocate fiercely for them. Lily knows you fought to protect her birthday, and that security means a lot. In the weeks that followed, more details came out. The local police discovered that Estelle and Vivian Palmer had been running this scam across 3 counties for almost 6 months. They'd successfully stolen groceries from at least 11 people, totaling over $3,400 worth of goods. Most of their victims, like the woman who'd spoken to me in the parking lot, had been too confused or embarrassed to fight back. The receipt-creating app they used was a legitimate business tool meant for expense tracking, but they'd figured out how to manipulate it to create fake store receipts. Combined with their surveillance, their identical shopping carts, and their emotional manipulation tactics, it was a sophisticated operation. Both women pleaded guilty to multiple counts of fraud and theft. Estelle got 18 months in county jail and 5 years probation. Vivian, who turned out to have no actual medical conditions despite the elaborate cancer story, got 12 months and 3 years probation. They were also ordered to pay restitution to all their victims. Dylan Torres from Savamart called me a few weeks after the party. I wanted to let you know that we've implemented new security measures at all our locations. We've trained staff to recognize this type of scam, we've added more parking lot cameras, and we've created a protocol for handling disputed transactions. That's good, I said. Also, he continued, and this is completely voluntary, but Channel 7 wants to do a follow-up story about consumer awareness. They'd like to interview you about what warning signs you noticed and how you stayed calm under pressure. Would you be interested? I thought about the woman in the parking lot who told me she wished she'd been brave enough to fight back. I thought about all the other potential victims out there who might not know about this scam. Yes, I said. I'll do it. The interview aired 2 weeks later. Emma Coleman asked me thoughtful questions about recognizing scams, trusting your instincts, and not being afraid to ask for help from store management. At the end, she asked me what advice I'd give to other shoppers. Know what you bought, I said. If someone claims you have their cart, you should be able to describe your item specifically. I could describe my daughter's custom cake in detail, the colors, the design, her name. That's what saved me. Also, don't be afraid to involve store management. They have tools like transaction records and security footage that can prove the truth. And if someone tries to intimidate you with recordings or threats? Emma asked. Stand your ground if you know you're right, I said. I know that's scary, believe me, I was terrified. But the alternative, losing money you can't afford to lose, having your child's birthday ruined, that's worse. Trust yourself. The interview got shared widely on local social media. I received dozens of messages from people thanking me, sharing their own near-miss stories with similar scams, or just offering support. Savamart put up signs in their parking lots warning about the cart switching scheme and encouraging customers to keep their receipts until they reached their cars. One message I got was from Sophia Martin, the bakery manager who'd helped Lily design her cake. I'm so glad that cake made it to the party safely, she wrote. And I'm glad our order system helped prove those women were lying. Lily is lucky to have such a strong mama. That message made me cry, because I didn't feel strong. I felt like I'd barely survived a terrifying situation through a combination of stubbornness, luck, and Dylan's willingness to investigate thoroughly. But maybe that's what strength is sometimes, just refusing to give up when everything seems stacked against you, trusting yourself when others try to make you doubt, fighting for what matters even when you're scared. Lily is 9 now, a year has passed since that parking lot confrontation. Her social anxiety is so much better. She initiates conversations with classmates, she volunteers to read aloud in class sometimes, she even joined the school choir. Her therapist says she may not need weekly sessions much longer. I still shop at Savamart, though I'm always extra aware now when I'm loading groceries in the parking lot. I keep my phone easily accessible, I note my exact cart contents, and I don't hesitate to make eye contact with anyone watching me. Dylan Torres always greets me by name when I come in, and the staff knows my story. The $100 gift card he gave me went toward ingredients for Lily's 9th birthday cake, which we ordered from Sophia again, this time with a space theme and her name in silver frosting. Another perfect cake for another successful party, 23 kids this time. I've learned something from all this. Those women, Estelle and Vivian, they counted on people being too polite, too uncertain, too afraid of making a scene to fight back. They weaponized our social conditioning against confrontation. They knew most people would rather lose money than be accused of stealing in front of a crowd. But here's what they didn't count on. They didn't count on mothers who've spent years advocating for kids with special needs, who've learned to be fierce in the face of dismissive doctors and skeptical teachers and insurance companies that deny coverage. They didn't count on someone who'd already fought so many battles for a child that one more wasn't going to break her. They definitely didn't count on Dylan Torres, a manager who took the time to actually investigate instead of taking the easy way out. Or on the police officers who recognized their names in the system. Or on the other victims who came forward once the story broke, adding their testimonies to the case. I think about that woman in the parking lot sometimes, the one who told me she gave up her groceries because she felt too embarrassed and confused to fight back. I hope she saw the news coverage, I hope she knows it wasn't her fault, and I hope she'd recognize the scam if someone tried it again. The incident changed me in ways I'm still discovering. I'm less apologetic now, less likely to second-guess myself when I know I'm right. I've stopped automatically assuming that people who seem confident or authoritative are telling the truth. I've learned that sometimes the person making the most noise, the one claiming to be the victim, is actually the predator. My kids learned something too, though I tried to shield them from the scarier parts. They learned that their mom won't be pushed around, that standing up for yourself matters, that doing the right thing isn't always easy but it's always worth it. Noah, who's 6 now, still tells people his mom caught bad guys in a parking lot. His version of events gets more elaborate each time he tells it. But Lily understands it more deeply. A few months after her 8th birthday, we were at the grocery store together, and she saw a woman arguing with another customer in the parking lot. Lily grabbed my hand tight. "Is that lady trying to steal like those women tried to steal from us?" she whispered. I looked over, assessed the situation. It appeared to be a genuine dispute about a parking space, nothing more. "No, honey, I think they're just disagreeing about parking. Not every argument is a scam." "But how do you know?" she asked. It was a good question, and I thought carefully about my answer. You look at the details. Those women who tried to trick us, they had a fake receipt, they couldn't describe the custom cake, and Mr. Dillon found out they didn't even go in the store. There were lots of little things that didn't add up. Most people arguing aren't trying to trick anyone, they're just upset. "But you knew they were tricking you," Lily said. "Even before Mr. Dillon helped." I knew something felt wrong, I agreed. And I knew for sure that my groceries were mine because I remembered exactly what I bought and why. "I bought everything on that list for your birthday party. I wasn't going to let anyone take your special cake." She hugged me right there in the parking lot. "You're the best mom ever." I'm not, of course. I'm just a mom who got lucky, who had a store manager willing to dig deeper, who had a dashcam recording at the right moment, who happened to face scammers who already had warrants out for their arrest. Change any one of those variables and the story might have ended very differently. But I'll take the win. I'll take the memory of Lily's face when she saw her birthday cake, the sound of 20 kids laughing at her party, the knowledge that I didn't back down when it mattered most. 7mart ended up using my story in their employee training videos, with my permission. They wanted staff to understand how these scams work and how to support customers who might be getting targeted. Dylan told me that 3 other attempted scams have been stopped at their locations since they implemented the new protocols, all because cashiers or managers recognized the pattern and intervened. "You probably saved a lot of people a lot of money and stress," Dylan said when I ran into him a few months later. Those training videos are being used at stores across the whole region now. I also heard through the local news that similar scams have been reported and stopped in neighboring states. Apparently Estelle and Vivian weren't the only ones who'd figured out this scheme. But awareness is spreading, stores are adapting, and fewer people are falling victim. The legal proceedings took almost 8 months to fully resolve. I had to give a deposition, provide my dashcam footage officially, and identify both women in a photo lineup, though that was hardly necessary since I'd never forget their faces. The district attorney, a woman named Victoria Hayes, told me my case was particularly strong because of the combination of physical evidence, the security footage, the fake receipt, and the dashcam video. Most of their other victims didn't have this level of documentation, Victoria explained. You keeping your receipt, having the dashcam, standing your ground long enough for management to investigate, all of that made this case solid. Without you, they might still be out there running this scam. When the sentencing finally came, I was invited to attend, but I declined. I'd already spent enough emotional energy on Estelle and Vivian Palmer. I didn't need to see them in court to have closure. My closure came at Lily's birthday party, surrounded by happy children eating purple unicorn cake. But Victoria called me after the sentencing to let me know the outcome. Both women had to pay restitution to all their victims, attend counseling for compulsive theft behaviors, and serve their jail time. They were also banned from every major grocery chain in the state. They tried to claim they were struggling financially, and that's why they did it, Victoria told me. But investigators found over $8,000 in cash hidden in their apartment, all from various scams. They weren't desperate, they were just con artists who found an easy target population. That detail made me angrier than almost anything else. They weren't stealing food because they were hungry. They were stealing from people who were actually struggling, single parents and elderly folks on fixed incomes, people who couldn't afford to lose a week's worth of groceries. The cruelty of it, the calculated nature of targeting the vulnerable, that bothered me deeply. I thought about writing them a victim impact statement, telling them about Lily's anxiety, about how close they came to ruining her breakthrough birthday party, about the careful budgeting that went into that $284. But in the end, I didn't. They didn't deserve to know about my daughter, to have any more space in our lives than they'd already taken. Instead, I focused on the positive changes that came from the experience. I started a small local social media group called Parking Lot Watch where shoppers could report suspicious activity at stores around our area. It grew to over 3,000 members in the first year. People share photos of known scammers, warn each other about new schemes, and offer support to anyone who's been targeted. Through that group, I met dozens of other scam victims. Some had been targeted by Estelle and Vivian, others by different con artists running similar schemes. We shared stories, compared notes on what worked and what didn't when confronting scammers, and generally helped each other feel less alone. One woman, Charlotte Cooper, told me she'd been scammed out of her groceries twice at different stores before she learned to fight back. I'm a 68-year-old widow on Social Security, she said. These people see someone like me and think I'm an easy mark. After I joined your group and learned the warning signs, someone tried it on me again last month. I told them I was calling the police immediately and they ran off before even finishing their story. Hearing stories like Charlotte's made me feel like something good had come from my nightmare in the Savamart parking lot. Yes, I'd been terrified. Yes, I'd almost lost everything I'd bought for Lily's party. But by refusing to back down, by letting the story be told publicly, maybe I'd helped protect other people from similar situations. The local police department invited me to speak at a community safety forum about 6 months after the incident. I almost said no because public speaking terrifies me almost as much as parking lot confrontations, but Lily encouraged me. You should go, Mom, she said. You can teach people how to be brave like you were. So I went, and I stood in front of about 100 people at the community center, and I told my story. I talked about the warning signs, about trusting your instincts, about the importance of keeping receipts and knowing your purchases. I talked about how scammers use emotional manipulation, fake health crises, and social pressure to make victims comply. The hardest part, I told the audience, was standing there while people recorded me and a crowd gathered and this woman claimed I was stealing from a cancer patient. Every instinct told me to just give them the card and leave because I hate confrontation and I didn't want people thinking badly of me. But I knew I was right, and I knew I couldn't afford to lose that money, and I knew my daughter's birthday depended on me standing firm. So I did. After my talk, at least 20 people came up to thank me or share their own experiences with retail scams. An elderly man named Arthur Peterson told me he'd been targeted by a distraction theft at a different store, where one person engaged him in conversation while another grabbed his wallet from his cart. I was so embarrassed, he said. I didn't even report it to the police because I felt stupid for falling for it. But hearing your story made me realize these are professional criminals, not just opportunistic thieves. It's not our fault for being trusting. Exactly, I agreed. They're good at what they do because they've practiced. They know human psychology. They know how to create pressure and confusion. Being targeted doesn't make you stupid or weak. The police officer who organized the forum, Sergeant Isabella Martinez, pulled me aside afterward. "Thank you for doing this," she said. "We see these scams all the time, but victims rarely want to talk about them publicly. Your willingness to share helps more than you know." "I just don't want it happening to anyone else," I said simply. "It will happen to others," Isabella said honestly. "Scammers are always coming up with new schemes. But because of people like you speaking up, more potential victims know what to watch for. You've probably prevented dozens of successful scams just by raising awareness." I hope she's right. I hope the woman loading groceries in some parking lot next week will remember my story if someone approaches with a too convenient matching receipt. I hope she'll trust her instincts, ask for management, stand her ground. Lily turned 9 with another wonderful party, and she's already planning her 10th birthday celebration. She wants to invite 30 kids this time. She wants to do it at a roller skating rink. She wants a cake that looks like a disco ball. My budgeting for that party started months in advance. But now when I go shopping for party supplies, I'm not just a single mom stretching her budget. I'm someone who knows how to spot a scam, who knows her rights as a consumer, who won't be pushed around by con artists with fake receipts and fake sob stories. I'm someone who stood up for herself and her daughter when it mattered most. The Savamart where it all happened still feels a little strange to shop in. I can't walk through that parking lot without remembering the afternoon my cart full of party supplies almost got stolen. I can't check out without thinking about Estelle and Vivian watching through the windows, timing their approach, rehearsing their lies. But mostly I remember Dylan Torres believing me when he could have taken the easy route. I remember Officer Amanda Turner running those IDs and discovering the warrants. I remember the woman who approached me after they were arrested, thanking me for not giving up. I remember bringing Lily's birthday cake home safely, setting it in the refrigerator, and knowing that tomorrow her party would happen exactly as planned. That's what I choose to focus on, not the fear and anger of the confrontation, but the triumph of getting through it. Not the fact that scammers targeted me, but the fact that they failed. Not the lies they told, but the truth that prevailed. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd backed down, if I believed Estelle's story about her sick mother and just handed over my cart to avoid the scene. I would have lost $284 I couldn't spare. Lily's custom cake would have been gone, irreplaceable with less than 24 hours until her party. I probably would have gone home and cried, then spent the evening frantically trying to figure out how to salvage her birthday with no money and no supplies. The party might have happened, I'm resourceful when I have to be, but it wouldn't have been the same. Lily wouldn't have had the confidence boost of knowing her mom fought to protect her special day. The scammers would have gotten away with it, moved on to their next victim, kept running their scheme until eventually someone else stopped them or they got caught for something else. And I would have spent years second-guessing myself, wondering if I really did take the wrong cart somehow, replaying the confrontation in my mind and wishing I'd been braver. Instead, I know with absolute certainty that I did the right thing. I protected my family, I helped stop criminals, I contributed to making my community safer. That knowledge is worth more than $284, more than a birthday cake, more than anything those scammers tried to take from me. Lily knows the story now, the whole story, not just a kid-friendly version. She knows how scared I was, how close it came to going wrong, how lucky we were that Dylan investigated thoroughly. She asks me sometimes if I was really brave or just stubborn. Can it be both? I tell her. Sometimes being brave means being too stubborn to give up even when you're terrified. She likes that answer. She wrote about it in a school essay last month titled "What Makes Someone Brave." She wrote about me standing in the parking lot surrounded by strangers, accused of theft, recorded on phones, but refusing to surrender her birthday cake to con artists. Her teacher, Miss Sophia Walker, gave her an A+ and wrote a note saying, "Your mother is indeed very brave, and so are you for being willing to share this story." Next week is Lily's 10th birthday party at the roller skating rink. 30 kids have RSVP'd, yes, I have decorations and supplies ordered, and yes, I have another custom cake on order, this one designed to look like a disco ball just like she wanted. The total cost is considerably more than $284, but I've been saving carefully and I have it budgeted. And this time, when I go to pick up that cake and load my party supplies into my car, I'll do it with confidence. I'll keep my receipt until I'm safely home. I'll be aware of anyone watching me check out or approaching me in the parking lot. I'll trust my instincts if something feels wrong. Because I learned something valuable in that parking lot confrontation with Estelle and Vivian Palmer. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that standing up for yourself matters, that truth really does prevail when you refuse to let lies win. I learned that my daughter is watching and learning from how I handle difficult situations. I learned that sometimes the scariest thing to do is exactly what you need to do. Most importantly, I learned that a mother protecting her child's happiness is a force that no scammer, no matter how practiced or persuasive, can overcome. Those women thought they'd found an easy target in a stressed single mom loading groceries alone. They were wrong. They underestimated what a parent will do to save their child's special day. That's a mistake they won't make again, not for 18 months anyway while Estelle sits in county jail, and I hope they think about it. I hope they think about the custom cake they almost stole, about the 8-year-old girl whose birthday party they almost ruined, about the mom they tried to humiliate and rob. But mostly, I hope they think about how they failed, how their careful scheme fell apart when they encountered someone who wouldn't be bullied, someone who had a manager willing to investigate, someone who had technology on her side with a dashcam recording their rehearsal. I hope other scammers thinking about trying similar schemes see the news coverage, see how quickly it went wrong for Estelle and Vivian, and decide it's not worth the risk. I hope potential victims see the story and remember it if someone approaches them with a too convenient matching receipt and a practiced sob story. And I hope other single parents, other people on tight budgets, other folks who usually avoid confrontation, will remember that sometimes you have to stand your ground. Sometimes you have to risk being uncomfortable, risk making a scene, risk having people record you and judge you, because the alternative is letting criminals win. That's my message now when people ask about the incident. Don't let them win. Trust yourself, ask for help, document everything you can, and don't back down when you know you're right. The system isn't perfect, but it worked for me, and it can work for others too. Lily is roller skating around the house in excitement about her party next week. Noah is already negotiating about what kind of party he wants for his 7th birthday in August. And I'm sitting here with coffee and my budget spreadsheet making sure everything is perfectly planned. Life goes on after trauma, after scary confrontations, after near misses with con artists. The groceries get bought, the parties get planned, the custom cakes get ordered and picked up safely. But we carry the lessons with us, the knowledge of what we survived and how we survived it. I survived a parking lot scam attempt by 2 professional con artists. I protected my daughter's birthday party. I helped catch criminals who'd victimized at least 11 other people. I contributed to making my community safer. And I taught my kids that their mom won't be pushed around, no matter how scary the situation gets. That's not a bad legacy for one terrifying afternoon in a Savamart parking lot. That's not a bad outcome for a confrontation I desperately wished I could avoid. That's not a bad ending for a story that could have gone so very wrong. So here's to standing your ground, to trusting your instincts, to store managers who investigate thoroughly, to dash cams that capture evidence, to police officers who run warrants, and to birthday cakes with purple unicorn frosting that make 8-year-olds smile with pure joy. Here's to surviving the scams, whatever form they take, and coming out stronger on the other side. Here's to Lily's 10th birthday party next week, which will be absolutely legendary. And to all the birthdays and celebrations and ordinary days that we get to enjoy because we refuse to let criminals take them from us. That's my story. That's what happened when 2 scammers tried to steal my groceries in a parking lot and failed spectacularly. I hope you never experience anything like it, but if you do, I hope you remember that you're stronger than you think, braver than you feel, and absolutely capable of standing up for yourself when it matters most. And I hope your kid gets their birthday cake, whatever obstacles try to get in the way.